Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. So today we get to ask the question, is Jerry selling? Does he want to sell? And what are the things that are not adding up? Now, unfortunately, right now, you may notice that Jerry's a little bit pixelated. That's because right now in Costa Rica, a beautiful place that it is getting rained on very harshly. And fortunately or unfortunately, I believe Jerry's got good mobile service, or excuse me, internet service through Elon Musk. And for his Wi-Fi status. So Jerry, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Sorry to hear about the rain troubles. Yeah, going to be a lot of lag today. And that just goes to show you that it really doesn't matter just to, how well, if you got Starlink or if you have some kind of ground service. There's always an issue, especially if you have outdoor massive amounts of rain. So we'll try to get through this. So first of all, if you want to follow Jerry and try to find him, you can follow him on X. There's a link in the description. And also before we start, and hopefully when we get Jerry back, we can see, is I want to give a shout out to YouTube for rectifying and changing it, because I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, but the live stream that we did was offline for a good 12, 14 hours or so. It's because YouTube yanked it because it said that there was it was harmful material. And I think what's going on with YouTube, me and a couple other different creators out there, is because there is an automated response as far as AI, and it looks through that and it just starts taking down videos, and you have to actually appeal it. And I got to tell you, it was pretty great because within, like I said, 14 hours, it was able to come back. They said, sorry about that, sir. And they put the video back up. And like I said in one of my posts, that's amazing. Customer service is that great. And they didn't sell, or excuse me, all my data didn't get scurried into different scammers' information. So I just want to say thanks, YouTube, for great customer service and getting things rectified. And second, not losing all my information to scammers. And Coinbase, take notes. That's pretty much how it's done. So this comes down to this, which is, Jerry, there's a lot of things that are going on, and I want to get to you right now before your internet cuts out. What are you doing right now? Did you sell a little bit? Did you want to take some off the table? You're like, you know what, F it, I'm just going to stick around.
I actually did not sell anything, and I through the couch cushions to pick up some loose change so that I could take advantage of this incredible buying opportunity. None of the fundamentals of this asset class has changed.
True.
Specifically around Bitcoin.
Jerry sounds like, sorry, Jerry, you sound like that scene in The Matrix when he takes that pill and he goes, rrr, 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 rrr. So could you say the last sentence again?
I'm buying, my friend. I am buying with every spare nickel I can find.
Okay. I was just questioning because it seemed like a lot of people are selling off right now. A lot of people are selling altcoins, as we can see, as the market just pretty much is starting to not collapse, but just has a pretty major drawback. And we can see here, what do we have today? So looks like as far as 24 hours, we're still going down. Bitcoin is now below 95K to 94.2, probably going to hit that 93,000 sometime today. Ethereum's down. It's probably going to go below $3,000. BNB, Solana, 3.5. And gosh, look at those, the Red Sea. So we've been talking about this for the last couple of days or so. And just yesterday, I mean, I said, hey, if you had to sell and just take some off the table, I have no problems with people selling because, of course, everybody's different. There's some people who are massively in debt, so they're like, hey, I want to sell before, there's a big, huge reduction in valuation of these assets. And I think that's what's going to happen moving into it. So I just want to get everybody's opinion, but it looks like, Jerry, looks like you're on the opposite side, hey, we might go down, we might stay stagnant, but I'm going to buy this. I'm kind of in the same camp. I'm just like, well, I took my profits before. I should have taken a lot more, obviously. I mean, no one times it perfectly, but it is one of my rules of taking a good amount of profits, rolled them to real estate, feeling just fine. And I'll probably just bunker down and keep buying. Anything else to add before we get
Sure.
to look in the math?
Sure. So I have implemented DEFCON 1, which basically means should Bitcoin get down to 85,000, I'm collateralizing a loan against my Bitcoin for 20% of the value of Bitcoin that I own to take a cash loan to buy more Bitcoin.
Well, 20% though.
Yeah, 20% loan to value at 85,000 per Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah, as long as you're not like, because I remember people taking massive loans, essentially like their entire stash. Their loan to value it wasn't 20%, it was usually like 50%. So I think 20%'s not too bad. Now, when you do that, Jerry, you're just going to go all in, or are you just going to do
Every
like a
dollar
dollar cost average?
buy more Bitcoin. Yeah, it's gonna be a strategic loan for the purpose of buying Bitcoin.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds, as time has gone on, this is the truth. Every time I think that, we're going to like really massively go backwards, I'm always proven wrong. I remember in 2020 when we had this thing called coronavirus, I wish I would have bought a lot more then. And then my first cycle, 2017, 2018, even though it peaked at 20K and I bought at 18,500, I still wish I would have bought more because, as time goes on, you would have been just fine. However, there are people out there, and this is why we can't give you financial advice, because whatever you're doing for your specific needs, people who are watching this video, it is specific to them. That's why, like when Jerry says, hey, I'm going to do this, it's probably because Jerry doesn't have a lot of debt. Jerry probably lives in this like great place that the cost of living is super low, and he doesn't have a mountain of like student loans. And of course, credit.
Zero debt.
Yeah, zero debt, right? For other people, they're like, I got a lot of debt, and the service is going to be very difficult. Again, whatever you want to do. So, that is what is going on. But let's just dig into the numbers and see where we're at. First of all, everybody is scared. How do you say this? Scared S-less? I can't say, I don't want to offend anybody, but people are scared. And we can see here, as far as like the fear and greed index, some of the best times to buy were when you were in fear. Look at this, 13th of March, 2020. 10 was the fear and greed, and the price was 5,600 because everybody thought that Bitcoin was going to go to like a couple $1,000s. It didn't, but they were pretty worried about it. And then over here, 2022, remember these days? 30,000. 22,000. Oh, wow. 7. And of course, we fast forward to today. Oh, we're not even that low. Actually, that's not true. I think we're at 10, aren't we? Yeah. We started at 24 on 7th of November, 12th of November, 24, 10 for 16, and same thing. Wow, we're at 10 today. Is it the 16th, the 17th?
It's the 16th.
Okay. So 10. And again, these are the times that, and I think it's only going to go lower. And if we take a look at like the bull market support band over on Ben's site, we are like way below where we should be for a support band. Look at the difference here. 20-week SMA and 21-week EMA. I'm not a TA guy, but I know that this would like to be above this, and it's not there, so things don't look good. I'm not that smart, but that's what I see. And then also, as everybody has, if you've been following along on X, we just had a death cross, which sounds awful. But in actuality, when this happens, usually it's a localized bottom and we see a nice little bounce. If that happens, I have no idea. But historically speaking, death crosses ain't bad. Gold crosses are the ones you have to worry about. So Jerry, TA, look at this. Do you put any stock into it? Are you a big TA guy?
No. As far as indicators go, I kind of watch what I would consider smart money, for instance. I'm I'm following what Berkshire Hathaway is doing for allocations, right?
Ah.
You know, they amassed somewhere around $380 billion in cash, right? Or cash equivalent. And just, I think it was on the 13th of November, it was in the last couple of days, they just recently deployed over $4 billion on Google stock.
Yeah, I saw that. I think they still have a massive amount of funds, don't they?
Well, they do. They have, like I said, they had amassed 380 billion and only deployed 4 billion. But the point is, they started the deployment. And remember, it was Warren or Charlie, one of those two, that came up with the buy with the blood in the streets thing, right?
Yeah.
When the market is fearful, that's when we're going to buy. And we're going to sell when the market is expressing exuberance. And when they start deploying billions of dollars, I'm taking notice. Now, I'm not saying it means anything, but if we find that in December they made another 4 or 5 billion allocation, we're really starting to hit on something, at least what they believe. And their deployment will affect our market if they are deploying in adjacent industries.
Right. Adjacent industries. So why do you think they went into Google? Is this an AI play or is this something else?
I honestly believe some of the younger minds at Berkshire Hathaway are seeing that tech is the path forward.
Well, we'll see. I think that's why a lot of people, well, some individuals may have left the crypto space for the next big thing, and following that narrative. It's always great to chase narratives, right? You usually do pretty well. Just kidding.
Trend, for sure.
You're right. So we'll see if it all works out. I still think AI is going to be a very, very big play. So we'll see how it all plays out. I personally have bought into NVIDIA, and I think that should work out reasonably well. NVIDIA and Tesla, I think those should be just fine, but anybody's guess. But let's dig into a little bit more of these numbers. D'Angelini says, hope you're ready to bag hold for 4 years. What you have to think to yourself, are the 4-year cycles still intact? Well, I want to show you something. So just like how everything, the only thing constant is change, right? But there's been this theory going around, and it makes a lot of sense as far as like the gold ETF, compare it to the Bitcoin ETF. The gold ETF happened on November 18th, 2004, and the Bitcoin ETF happened in January 2024, 20 years later. And what we take a look at, and we put this together about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I can't remember. And you can just see that there was a nice little run up as far as the gold ETF, November 18th. Started at 450 and had a nice little 7-year run. 7 years of positive price action for gold. Now I own gold, a little bit of silver. That's about it. Not too big. And we can see how well it did. But remember that Bitcoin's only going it for the first 2 years, and this is an overlay, it doesn't look too great. But that's where the similarities stop. And if we can take a look at gold for the first, 2004, 2005, you had a plus 17%. 2006, it was plus 19. 2007, plus 30%. 2008, plus 5. 2009. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The first 8 years, I should say, was all positive price action after the ETF because institutions getting everybody's happy, right? However, and of course, this is just another chart, just shows like the price action. 18th November 2004, you had the price of 443, and then in 1 year you went to 485. That's not bad. Nice little 10, 12%. Then if you go to the end of the year, 517, that's still not too bad. And then we take a look in 06, going into 07. But if we compare that to Bitcoin, because if we're going to say, institutions are here and this is how it goes, Bitcoin is lagging. This is from Charlie Baleo. And he says gold plus 55% is the best performing major asset in 2025, while Bitcoin is now the worst for this year. I know this is not something very popular, but I think we have to digest this information if we're going to move forward because we need all the information that we possibly can. And take a look at this. 2025, look at this, the asset class. Gold is number 1. Emerging market stocks and EAFE stocks are at 28 and 25 respectively. US bonds are at 12.6. High yield are 7% bonds. Geez, even real estate investment trusts are up 3.6%, and Bitcoin is the laggard at 1.2. Before we go on, Jerry, what are your thoughts on this going into it?
Well, number one, the year isn't over yet.
That's
right?
true. Got a point. Yeah.
And here's the thing. The price action in the asset is misaligned to the adoption curve milestones that we're seeing in the industry. And so I, for one, want to take advantage of that disjointed relationship between the foundation and adoption of Bitcoin and its price action. I'm happy for gold. I think it's wonderful. I have always been in amazement why gold was such a laggard for so long in my Bitcoin experience, right? So I'm really happy to see gold rise. I'm really happy to see Tesla become so powerful. I'm really happy that NVIDIA and AMD are taking their places on the world stage in our capital market structure. But Bitcoin is just still getting started. It's hard to compare an apple to an orange, right? What is the market cap, and we'll call it the participants in the market for Bitcoin versus gold versus NVIDIA and versus Tesla? They're not the same thing. So to compare them is almost a disservice. We should understand what they are individually and act accordingly, but not necessarily compare them one-to-one. I don't, because they're not the same thing. They're not the same markets.
Yeah, they're the same markets. Yeah, for sure. I think, but like gold, I kind of see as, I mean, it depends on who you ask as far as Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin to be used for? Is it a peer-to-peer transaction, just like the white paper states and what Jack Dorsey wholeheartedly believes? Or is it gold 2.0, which is essentially what Michael Saylor and a lot of other people believe? So in that situation, it's all about technology and what you think it is. Remember, when we discovered iron ore 10,000 plus years ago, or 5,000 plus, man just thought, this would be great. We'll make some flints, we'll make some shields later on, we'll make arrowheads. And of course, then it becomes, well, let's make that into steel, let's make that into metal, let's start making skyscrapers and so on and so forth. Who'd have thunk it? That's, of course, technology. It kind of just plays into what you think it is. And Meme has a good point. I think it piggybacks on what Jerry says. If your goal is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can over a lifetime, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, because when we take a look at the short term, it matters because everybody's freaking out. That's why we break it down like this. If we want to just zoom out, which is a good thing we're going to do right here, what if we take a look at this annualized section here on the far right? Look at this. So as far as like annualized returns, 2011, 2025, gold, which is the top one for this year, is actually only at 7% annualized. It's not too great. I mean, you're keeping up with inflation, kinda, but not really. The next one, emerging market stocks, 3.7. US NASDAQ, 18.7%. I got to tell you, pretty good. Large caps, 14%. What is this? US value, US small caps, 9%. 10% for mid caps, REITs, 7%, not bad. But annualized returns for Bitcoin is 135%, annualized year over year, which is pretty great. However, that sounds good, right? But people will point to this. But Rob, and it's a good point, in 2011, the return was 1,473%, which we can see right here. So are you going to keep that in for the annualized return? And to you, I say, stop being so nosy. But actually, it's true. If you took out that 1,473%, the annualized return still would be roughly 102%. Correct me in the comment section. You can just see here in 2012 was 186. 2013 was 5,507%. 2015, 35, 125, 30. It's still done great. There's just been some down years like 2022, which is awful. 2018, 2014, and now somehow 2025 is barely hanging on at 1.2%, which should have been a great year. But Jerry, the math, the gold and the math we just took a look at, what's your thoughts on this? Is this just...
Again, it's perspective. It really is perspective. So you and I had the opportunity to buy Bitcoin for as low as $3,000. So I'm speaking specifically of that December 2018 bottom that was just a dream if you wanted to accumulate Bitcoin.
Right.
But it's really a matter of perspective, right? So if we have market participants who came in during the COVID era, the high in that era, what, 67,000 or something like that?
Something.
Right? So even if you came in on that run and bought at the top, you're still 70% in the profit, right? You're showing a 70 or 65% profit, not to mention what you were showing October 15th when it was at 125,000. So let's not lose sight of the big picture. Zoom out a little bit. It's only people who bought at 125,000 that are kicking themselves in the ass right now, going, you know, I put my whole life savings in at 125 thinking it was going to go to 3, and we're down here in the 90s again. But again, if you hold, nobody who's had Bitcoin for 4 years or more has ever lost money.
This
right?
is true.
And so it's, again, back to perspective. What is, you know, everybody's got a different one because their circumstances are different. My perspective is this is a great buying opportunity. Other people's perspective might be, hey, I need to sell some money to feed my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I totally get that. I would never discourage anybody from doing what's right for them.
Right. You know, by us saying, you know, buying opportunity or selling opportunity for, you know, whoever needs it, I think some people look at that and demonize it and say, okay, tomorrow, if it drops by another 10%, which it definitely could, it is the crypto market. GoGovs says it very nicely, dump, dump, dump. Then in the long term, people will forget about this conversation we're having right now. And then in the long term, say in like 6 months, a year, 2 years, when Bitcoin is, pick a number, I'm not a prediction guy, probably higher than where we're at right now, no one will remember this. And in the short term, they're like, how can they say that? How can they say that? The reason why me and Jerry say it is because we've been around for so damn long in this market. And we know what's usually happens. You know, maybe we go up a little bit and then we drop another 10, 15%. Or maybe we go down 20% tomorrow. But in the long term, as time goes on, you know, we're pretty fortunate to have that kind of perspective. It's just the new ones that kind of get flipped out, and I can definitely understand it. And that would bring me to this point. Timing. This was it was a really good piece, a really good comment that I got from my comment section from a couple of days ago. And this is from Zoo, at Zoo1701. Shout out to Zoo. He says, hey, Rob, I love your channel. I appreciate you replying to my comment, but you got what I was saying was wrong. And what we're taking a look at was time frames between all-time lows to all-time highs, and then all-time highs to all-time lows. And look at these numbers. It is interesting. All-time low from 2015 to all-time high 2017 was 1,064 days. All-time high of 2017, all-time low of 2018 was 364 days. And then all-time low 2018, 2021, another 1,064 days. All-time high to all-time low 2021, 2022, 364 days. Look how much that repeats, how perfectly it does in this statement.
Isn't that short segment of data? It's eerie.
It's eerie.
It's eerie because one had a black swan to that has never been matched by any other black swan event with COVID, and one didn't. And one was in a really good political economic channel and the other wasn't. Yet those numbers for those two time frames are eerily dead on.
Yeah, and things just tend to repeat. And then this last, and you're right, Jerry. It's eerily dead on. All-time low of 2022 to all-time high, if you believe it's October 6th, is 1,064 days. Crazy, right? And then yesterday when I talked about it before YouTube yanked the video, I said, you know, one of the things that I had a problem with last cycle was in November going into December, saying to myself, okay, well, that's it. That is the all-time high. But I'm like, no, there's no way, because everybody's talking about 100K Bitcoin. We have a lot of good, positive things happening, but I was wrong. And I don't want to hold anybody or beholden anybody to this, because maybe, like we talked about, maybe they have to sell or something like that. But there was one thing, there's two things to clarify. First, thank you, Zoo, for saying that in the statements. I said, for clarity, if we put in the actual dates, the all-time low is January 14, 2015. The all-time high was December 17th. That was 1,068 days. 2017 was 363. All-time low to all-time high in 2018-21 was 1,061. And all-time low, November 21 to all-time high, excuse me, was 376 days and then 1,050. I said, so in actuality, the pattern is still pretty close. Like Jerry said, eerily close. It's more like 1,060 to 1,070 days from the all-time low to all-time high, and between 360 and 380 days from all-time high to all-time low. Not that that matters, but this is what matters, I think, which is if we're going to talk about all these things, we have to remember what happened back then. And I think that this is the bigger play, which is, and I was confused on this in 2021. I didn't pay attention to it. It's the macro. And with the macro, and some people could say, Rob's coping. Yeah, of course I am. But in all honesty, you have to take a look at what's really happening with rate cuts and rate rises. In 2019 and 2020, or 2017 and 2018, we just started to actually like really raise rates. And once you raise rates, then the liquidity goes out of the system. And then we dropped rates because of a virus, and we went down to zero, and that's why we had such great things as far as like price action. But then in 2020, just right at the start of 2022, we started to raise rates around the March 2022, and that's when we started to really have some problems as far as liquidity, and we raised rates all the way above 5. So that was one thing. I didn't realize it until later. And then also, as far as like the balance sheet for the Fed, the reason why we went up so high, either we were stagnant in 2017, like you can see right here, so the Fed wasn't adding anything in their balance sheet, but we had good rates. And if we overlay the M2 money supply, yeah, it goes up. But one of the big things in 2021 was they were adding onto their balance sheet like crazy. And then right in 2022, around March, April, somewhere around there, not only do they cut or raise rates, but they also started to offload their balance sheet. And that's the part that I missed. And right now, we're getting to not only offload some of their balance sheet, but we're going to stop the quantitative tightening. That happens December 1st. The rates will still get cut, whether Jerome says no on December 10th, which it looks like it might be. It's a 50-50 shot. Go figure. And then, of course, as far as like money supply, we'll see how it goes, from there, but it's apparently still picking up. So these are the big things that I'm looking at. Jerry, am I coping? And am I coping too hard? Is that too much hopium to stick in the system?
I think you're trying to make sense of this, and I think that's what all of our jobs are, right? Are trying to understand this so that when we make a decision, we feel like we applied some science, some intuition, some intellect, what have you. We're not just randomly bumping our heads like we're blind in a box, right? And so one of the things that I think are real drivers for especially a market like crypto is going to be liquidity, right? And a real indicator of liquidity is that Fed rate, right? That is going to give you an idea directionally about the access to loans, right? Because the Fed rate affects banks. Banks give a rate for their loans. Brokerages are no different than banks in that respect. So whether it's Goldman Sachs, Fidelity, or Bank of America, they're all literally feeding from that trough from the Fed, right?
The trough. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The trough.
So to understand that and try to see, okay, if the Fed has, let's say, they're going to stay neutral on their balance sheet. In other words, what they carry, what they lend is going to have a bigger impact on the liquidity cycle, right? If they're offloading assets and making it easier to borrow, then there's a competition in the marketplace for that debt that they're offloading, right? But if they don't, then there isn't. And that's going to be our secret recipe, or at least one that I'm hoping for anyway.
Well, we didn't talk about this before, but I just, someone sent this to me, and I didn't know there was an emergency Fed meeting that went on.
What date is this?
This is...
I didn't see this.
14th of November, 2025. Aha. And it says, New York Fed apparently held an emergency meeting with Wall Street to discuss money market liquidity concerns. Apparently there's not enough liquidity. So, I know people will point this and go, this is just hoping. It may be. But who knows? Things are moving in the right direction. We need liquidity. And right now, liquidity is still there. There's a quadrillion amount of funds sloshing around all the markets. We talked about this. The stock market, you have over $176 trillion. In real estate, it's like $286 trillion. And then, of course, futures and all those things, especially paper gambling, it's the same thing, trillions and trillions of dollars. So if you have more of this liquidity going into businesses, people get jobs because they have to have loans, and you have liquidity going into the hands of people, things should work out. And then, of course, all the rest of the institutions. But it's amazing and interesting how things are moving in the backgrounds, and we just don't take it into consideration because we're not aware of it. So I want to say thanks to everybody who sends me things like this, so even I can keep up to date what's going on. Jerry, what's your thoughts real quick on this one?
I think you're absolutely correct with one caveat, right? One thing you didn't mention. We could, as a country, introduce $5 trillion new dollars into the system. That is liquidity. Yeah. However, if the existing system has to refinance $5 trillion worth of debt tomorrow, when that $5 trillion is issued, there isn't extra liquidity for the purchase of non-debted instruments. In other words, new stuff. And it's that balance. It's that when we refinance debt, we want the $100,000 that we borrowed to pay the loan, and we want $50,000 extra dollars to buy new shit. That's simply stated, that's what we want. We don't want $100,000 of new money to pay a $100,000 loan. There's no extra liquidity to go get something that hasn't been gotten already. So most of the liquidity churning is all in this really kind of abstracted refinance game. Debt paying back old debt, bonds being issued to pay old debt. It's when money can be created, issued, and acquire new stuff is when we see those gargantuan up and to the right type signals in the marketplace, right? That's the kind of liquidity cycle we want.
That would be nice. Well said, Jerry. Couldn't have said it better. So everybody, that is essentially the overview for what our thought process is. If you like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, and all that great stuff. Now we'll get into let's just roll into the Q&A and go from there. And to be 100% transparent, Jerry's still buying, and it looks like he's going to take some loans to get Bitcoin. Good for Jerry.
That's a possibility.
That's a possibility. 20% loan to value ratio, though, right? And then to clarify, Rob said he's still buying. Not only I'm still buying Bitcoin. I'm not right now presently buying any altcoins. Even though, if we take a look at the risk levels, like Polygon is so, I'll show you. Like things that I'm shocked. that are kind of stuck in the background. I'm looking for risk levels. Like, look at Polygon. First of all, congratulations to Polymarket for teaming up with UFC. I saw it for the UFC fights, and then also with Google and Yahoo, and I think they even have a partnership with Kalshi or something like that. But look at this. Polygon, which runs Polymarket, and that's what you need as far as like, and I think they may have incorporated Solana, not for sure. But look at this risk level, 0.06. It's not even a 0.1. And of course, the high level is 1. That's a crazy amount. But I mean, everything's in the toilet as far as like with risk levels. I don't know, maybe it is a time. Bitcoin is, where are we at? Wow. I think risk to reward, I mean, look at that risk level, 0.43. Crazy. Anyhow, but yeah, I'm doubling up on what I'm buying because the risk levels are going so low for Bitcoin. And then taking notes asks, when and why are you going to step away from your channel? Will you still be stepping away? Was it supposed to be when you're selling most of your crypto? And yes, so the original idea was we'll get a blow off top in Q4. I'll start to ladder out, start selling like crazy. All my altcoins are done. I sell everything. Bitcoin between 25 and 50% sold. And I step out until the bear market comes in. Unfortunately, we bypassed that whole process and now it's a whole thing. So now I am, still going to be here. So that's it. And then Ash says, it's all rigged and manipulated by decades of design. The system needs a correction and biggest players need handcuffs. Literally and figuratively. Jerry, do you think it really is manipulated, or is it just these are normal play actions?
Absolutely believe that there are ways and means to manipulate the market. It's usually done on an exchange.
Yeah.
Right. And then arbitraged in other little mechanisms to do other little things at other exchanges. So you don't do that in the capital markets necessarily, right? Because there is only one NASDAQ, right? And the stocks that are sold on the NASDAQ are not sold other places yet, right? Until we have a sophisticated digital marketplace and and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot easier for them to control those markets. Whereas with crypto, Bitcoin's on what, 50, 60, 70 centralized exchanges?
Yeah.
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 There was a member in the comments that brought up something I would love to be able to address. It's RI Stuff 1. He says, hey Jerry, when are you going to pass out those nodes to those of us that you guys drew as winners? Any kind of timeline? I can say every single person that I got their information, they got their Amphi nodes.
Oh, congratulations.
I have a spreadsheet to prove it.
Sounds good. Let's see. And then,
but if this person somehow doesn't have the same Twitter name as they do the YouTube name and please contact me on Twitter at JerryVHall1 and we'll get it sorted out if it's a legitimate thing. Nobody is going to get cheated.
No one's going to get cheated.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Now we got to do a little search here. It looks like AW Van Life said, no, that's a fake article that I don't need this or this, that, or this. Damn, where'd it go? From bar chart.
Ooh.
Let's see. I'm just going to run a fact check on this one. Oh, well, first of all,
It's a little bit dramatic.
It happened November 12th. New York Fed President John Williams held a closed-door conference meeting with major Wall Street banks. The topic was strains in the U.S. money market liquidity, and outstanding repo. This followed a big spike in SRF usage. The Fed didn't label this as an emergency meeting, just as a meeting. Financial media, well, of course, I mean, you got to put some clickbait in there to get people to click on it. As long as it's not like clickbait to me is, there's two different levels to clickbait. It's like making things kind of spicy so people click on it, or just being a total liar. You know, like if I did a title of like this video where I said, Bitcoin's going to 250K, proof, exclamation point. And then I come in here and I talk about absolutely nothing that has to do with that. That would be clickbait, I think. But as far as like clickbait, as far as like to get people to come in, I mean, that's what I did with this beautiful title I did today, which was, is Jerry dumping on us? That was my first thought, but I didn't put it. I said, like, is Jerry selling? That's kind of clicky-baity, I guess. All right. So anyhow, I guess this meeting did happen, but it wasn't an emergency. So I guess we're somewhere in the middle. Anyhow, good to know.
Wouldn't it be great to be able to sell? I have a bunch of alts that I'm waiting, you know, I've been waiting for the time to let them go. And it just keeps the market saying, no, Jerry, we're not ready for you to let them go yet.
I got to tell you, so I went with a friend of mine, George, to this place called El Barri, which is a place that accepts Bitcoin here in Texas. And he sold his Bitcoin at 111,000. And you know, when it went to 126, I'm like, he's like, I don't care. And then today, or you know, I think it was on Thursday, he said, you know what, man? He goes, I got no stress. It's great. He goes, I know, like, Bitcoin can go to $1 million. He goes, but right now it's awesome because he has no debt. He has, you know, his house is paid off. He just bought his wife and himself a new vehicle. And he's like, I don't really care what happens. You know, if it goes up, it goes up. If it goes down, I don't care. But just that feeling of like him, like not being so stressed out. That's the big thing. That is the big thing. Don't be stressed.
Again, what was one of the ethos of Bitcoin? Freedom.
Yeah, freedom. That's exactly right. Bitcoin is freedom. Although I got to tell you, some people will say, no, you never sell your Bitcoin. You never. I don't care if you're homeless and you're cold. You just snuggle right up to your ledger, make sure, and just try to make it.
I'm in that camp. I do not want to or have any plans to sell my Bitcoin. Now, will I leverage it if I need to? Like, I'm planning on doing a leverage play to buy more if the market cooperates in a certain direction, right?
Right.
But there isn't selling it. That's utilizing it, using it as a tool. It's different than selling.
That's true. I guess if you're selling straight for cash and sitting cash, what's the point? That makes no sense because cash just evaporates, right? There's a thing called inflation. So 5-10%, something like that. Hey, this is a good one just to get off. I mean, this will go back to what you were talking about with Warren Buffett's company.
Mm-hmm.
There's chit chat out there that Google has teamed up with an AI drug research company and looking for cancer treatments. Huh, that's interesting.
Meta, Google, and AWS, and Apple, as quiet as it's kept, are pouring a tremendous amount of money into products utilizing AI.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good.
Lots and lots and lots of money.
Well, there's that. And then I don't know if you heard about this, but Florida just funded research for fenbendazole and for the other deworming medication for treatment of cancer. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's pretty interesting.
It is something to do with a parasite, if I remember correctly, right?
Well, not just that. It's about how mitochondria function and how they become irregular. And they're able to
unintended consequence, no different than Viagra.
Yeah.
Remember how Viagra came to be? It came to be because they were trying to figure out blood flow for people who had heart disease.
Well, it's the same thing with with Rogaine. It was an antihypertensive medication for blood pressure. And then they said, hey, you know what? I see that everybody's hair is growing pretty good. Maybe we should make this into a topical. Same thing. It's just a little different. Let's see. The powerhouse of the cell. Chris says life is infested with parasites. Yeah, they're all in the banking sector. Just kidding. AI CoreWeave is a thing. CoreWeave. I'm thinking of Arweave. Sorry.
Arweave.
Yeah, CoreWeave. Yeah, CoreWeave I think is a separate adjacent. CoreWeave AI. Yeah, cloud-based artificial intelligence cloud computing company. That's the big thing, just like Amazon Web Service. Here's a question. Hey guys, greetings, great show. No blow-off tops this cycle. Does that mean that large whale selling into liquidity? I mean, some of the OGs have sold, but have you seen anything else, Jerry?
No, I can't add to that. Well, that's a very well stated statement.
Oh yeah. All right, Piper. They're doing other tests for GLP-1 now to cut craving for addicts. Interesting. There was some other type of side effect, and I think what we're talking about is that medication that helps with losing weight, which people seem to be all the rage in. But yeah, we'll see how good that works. I got to tell you though, but medications, I mean, you get like 10, 12 side effects for one of the intended purposes for the indications. And you're like, oh, well, that's just why I'm going to take it. But man, I try to stay away from meds as much as I can. Thoughts on privacy coins? I'm going to guess Zcash or Monero. I just don't get Zcash. I mean, I understand like people say, well, it's private transaction. That's what everybody's using it for. Is that what everybody's using Zcash for right now? Because they need to use a bunch of privacy payments? I don't think they are. I think they're buying it because it's all speculation, just like everything else. And it seems like in the last month or so, it's been pumped by every single person out there, even the Winklevoss twins. So I take a look at them like, is it really being utilized in that case? Or that's what people say, no, that's what it's going to be. I think it's just a big, I mean, if you hold Zcash, congratulations, you're up massively. But I would recommend you really take a hard look at taking some profits, because if people in the future are going to use Zcash for privacy payments, first you have to ask, and I think there was a piece where they talked about on Binance how if Zcash has passed between these specific wallets, depending on what it is, that they're not going to let it act. They're not going to let you transact into it. And I'm like, well, how the heck can they follow you on that? Because that's supposed to be private. I don't know if it's going to be the big thing. But to answer your question, I don't own Monero. I don't own Zcash, so I'm not the guy to go for it. Jerry, anything on this one?
No, but I can tell you when I think about the digital asset space, one of the key pillars that has been yet to like really materialize itself in a useful way, and that is digital identity.
Yeah.
Right? And so your Moneros and your Zcashes, and I believe Midnight from Cardano, these entities are addressing that element. And I think it's one of the last frontiers in the digital space, whether it be a digital identity for me or my AI agent acting on my behalf.
Yep.
I think this is an important next logical technological innovation. And I'm looking forward to what it will bring. Because you and I are both, and I'm sure everybody that's watching us, in some way or another, is being inundated by either imposters, scammers, phishing scams. All this kind of manipulation, weird shit. That if we had concrete authenticatable digital identities would all go away.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be great. Maybe hopefully midnight can fix all that stuff. We'll see.
Or at least the industry addresses it and somebody solves the problem. It doesn't have to be Cardano. Somebody, though.
That'd be nice, especially what's going on. And then I think, guys, the bull run is over. That's from Hopium Copium, which is if Hopium Copium says that's pretty bad.
It's we might as well pack it up right now, Rob.
Yeah, for sure. Midnight has a huge founders allocation. I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. But I guess then it becomes like, if that's the allocation, like that's what they're getting. Do they get it all at once, or is there a cliff for like, you know, like some products have like a cliff of like 36 months. So like every month they get so much, and then of course that is selling pressure, and it is true. But so there's a big difference between like getting it all at once, which is massive sell pressure, or just over, you know, so many months, which is moderate sell pressure, if that's what is actually happening. And oh well. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Oh man, let's just leave it here and get out of here, Jerry. Okay. Did you see that they're trying to make a Bitcoin Epstein connection? Classic market manipulation. Aye. That is our cue. That is our top cue right there to get out of here. Everybody, thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate it. Jerry, thanks for your internet to actually make it all the way through. We appreciate that. But that's it for today. So everybody, we'll see you guys in a week. Me and Jerry, I'll see you tomorrow. But that's it. Thanks so much, everybody. Adios.
Thanks, y'all. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.